All right, everybody, welcome back to the next edition of the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast. I'm Mark.
And I'm Joe.
And Joe, we have a pretty saucy episode today on this podcast. It's again our weekly pick'ems, our pick'em episode, and I guess we're going to start with the housekeeping. Not a great week for the Mark You Down for a Cup of Joe podcast last week,
No,
if I do say
not
so
at all.
myself.
Not at all.
So, just to get everyone caught up, Joe, I went 7-7, which I don't consider a good week. Hitting half of the games. I think, if consistent listeners will know, we have a high standard for ourselves in picking these NFL games. We've been pretty good. And then you went 6-8 as well. So it was just kind of a down week. A lot of these teams that we thought were going to lose just ended up winning to our chagrin.
You know what, Mark? This week was a bigger letdown than the 2019 Cleveland Browns. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh man. Even though we have way better records this week than the Cleveland Browns will finish with this year.
I gotta get my shots out there somehow, Mark.
I mean, unmitigated shots. I mean, the Browns have done nothing to you as a Packers fan. I mean, not like they've beaten you in a Super Bowl. I mean, that's...
Well, you know what, Mark? Baker Mayfield and Freddie Kitchens are on my compass a little bit, and they're, you know what, Mark? I'm just gonna say it. They're not going north. They're going
they're going south. Not an east or west shift. There's no little difference happening. It's definitely
this is dead south, Mark.
They're going so south. You could say that. During January when playoffs is going on, they're probably going to be hanging out somewhere on a beach in Mexico. That's how south they're going. In Cleveland, Ohio. So, anyways, after taking a bunch of shots at Cleveland and Freddie Kitchens and Baker Mayfield, let's segue into our actual picks. And yes, this is coming out after the Thursday night game. We realize that. But Joseph, you and I always do the talking thing before because our schedules kind of conflict. And we both picked the Oakland Raiders to win Thursday Night Football, and we were not disappointed. We're going to go out 1-0. We're going to start off 1-0 this week. So how do you feel about that, Joseph?
I feel really good that we picked them, and I just want to say to the listeners that, yes, we really did pick them. It's not like me and Mark are now waiting to put this episode out after the Thursday night game so we get a free win. We both really picked the Raiders to beat the Chargers, so feels good to start off 1-0, Mark. It really does.
It really does. And you know what? That's the thing. We kind of have this honor system that, if one of us says we picked them when, clearly we told each other something else. I think the game that comes to mind is the Denver game where they went in, they were playing at home versus Kansas City. We kind of drank the Denver Kool-Aid a little bit. We didn't just jump over to Kansas City because we picked wrong, man. We stuck to our guns, and I'm pretty sure we'd have the integrity to call each other out on that. So
yeah. So we're sitting at 1-1. We're sitting at 1-0, Mark. Mark,
man,
that's actually one thing that Cleveland could have never said this year.
Oh man, shots fired. Even a team like the Raiders could say that. And you know what? I'm happy with my Raiders. They played well. They let's see what they'll do next week. But stacking 2 wins being really good for me. And that was the one game we differed on last week, the Raiders-Lions, and the Raiders really not letting me down at this point. But anyways, let's keep moving forward. And speaking of those Detroit Lions coming off of a loss to the Oakland Raiders in the Black Hole, they are now going to take their pride, if you know what I mean, over to Chicago to, Lions and no Tigers, but Bears. Oh my, this matchup. Joseph, who do you have in this one?
Mark, this isn't a bird watching game. This is just a animal watching game. I can't think of anything better. But
how about this? The Wizard of Oz game, minus the Tigers.
The Wizard of Oz game. I like it, my good sir. And in this Wizard of Oz matchup, I have the Detroit Lions going in and pouncing upon the Chicago Bears, Mark. And I know me and you have done a lot of talking about the Bears recently, and this really just sums up why I don't like the Bears. Well, there's lots of reasons. We can save
more
that for the we can save that for the Chicago Bears Hate podcast.
We need to do that dumpster fire for sure.
Okay, well, I'll make a note of that, Mark, so we can give the listeners what they want. We know they want the shit. Anyways, Mark, um, I don't trust the Bears to move the ball offensively, especially with Mitchell Trubisky back there throwing the ball. They don't have a run game. Heck, in their last game, they had, I think, 7 total yards of offense at the half, something like that. Maybe it was a little bit better. I remember at one point it was that low. And their defense just hasn't been as dominant this year. So in a game like this where you have Matthew Stafford, who has been on fire as of late, coming in hot after right after coming in off a loss, they're gonna want to go and get right back on the tracks. They're gonna want to win. They're gonna come in hot. I don't think Chicago is gonna be able to keep up with them. So give me Matthew Stafford and the Lions in this game.
Yeah, you and me both. I agree with you there. I think Matthew Stafford's going to play well. I think it's going to be a closer game than people think because the Bears are sitting there at 3-5. I think this is kind of their last real stand at home to save their season. So they're going to be a desperate team, so they're going to come out like that. But I don't even think that that's going to save them. And you want to know what? You want to know what the pastry, the donut, the bear claw, and the Chicago Bears have in common for me, Joseph?
What's that, my good sir?
They both make me sick on a Sunday for different reasons. So I'm not picking the Bears in this one. Definitely rolling with the Lions. And, the Bears are kind of an eyesore right now. That offense is horrible. But you and me both with the Lions. Let's move on, Joseph, to our next matchup. We've got another animal fight, I guess you could say, for lack of a better term, and another divisional animal fight as well, as we've got the Baltimore Ravens going to the almost third wheel Wizard of Oz team at this point in the Cincinnati Bengals, being at home. So, Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
Mark, this one's a no-brainer. Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson is really good at football. He just went down and beat Tom Brady. Well, not he. He hosted Tom Brady and beat Tom Brady at home and the Patriots, and now he gets to go feast upon this deprived of talent Cincinnati Bengals team, who are starting a rookie quarterback. So, really, that's about all I have right there, Mark. This just isn't going to be a good game for Cincinnati unless they have the next Tom Brady and their rookie quarterback. I forget his name. I don't even know who this kid is.
I forget. I think it's Jeff Driscoll. I'm not sure, but nevertheless, even if it was Tom Brady, I will say that Baltimore defense was scary, and they handled Tom Brady. So it doesn't matter who's out there right now. It looks like that defense is sort of coming along. That Cincinnati O-line is not good. Man, I feel bad for
the Baltimore Ravens
quarterback, man. Yeah, what are you gonna add?
So through 8 weeks, so far through the season, they're the only team in NFL history to average at least 200 rushing yards a game and over 220 passing yards a game. I mean, that offense is averaging 420 total yards of offense a game. They are explosive, and Cincinnati isn't going to be able to keep up with that.
No, absolutely not. So I'm picking the Ravens as well. Even though the Baltimore Ravens run an offense that consists solely of, halfback passes and 2 running back reads, I think it's going to be enough to get past Cincinnati. So let's move on to our next matchup, Joseph. Who do we have here?
We have the Buffalo Bills. We got Bills Mafia going down to take on the Cleveland Browns, who I was taking shots at earlier. And Mark, I'll go ahead and start us off on this one since I was the one taking shots at the Browns earlier. I'm going to be taking the Buffalo Bills in this game. Partly just because, I shouldn't say partly. The biggest reason why is because I don't trust Freddie Kitchens and the Browns offense, especially with Baker Mayfield at quarterback. I know people have been trying to blame the offensive line for a lot of this struggles, but I read something interesting the other day that pulled up a stat where it showed that Baker Mayfield, when he is not under pressure, is the worst rated quarterback in football right now. I mean, you can make up all these excuses for him, but when it comes down to it, he is not playing good football. I don't see him moving the ball effectively against that Buffalo defense, who, by the way, held Tom Brady to, I think, 17 points. So, good luck, Browns. I'm taking Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm taking Buffalo as well. The thing with Baker Mayfield that I've seen is last year he threw like 28 touchdowns, which was great, but he also threw 18 interceptions. You would have hoped he had curved down those. It just looks like at this point in his career, this is who Baker Mayfield is. So, Joseph, I'm going to set the over-under for interceptions for Baker Mayfield this game at 2.5. Are you
Ooh.
taking the over or are you taking the under?
Ooh. You know what? I'll take the under mark.
I'm taking the over, so that's another little thing we got to watch out for here. I just do not see a way that Baker Mayfield's going to move the ball against this Buffalo defense without turning it over a bunch of times. So give me the Bills on the road. A lot of road teams early on, Joseph, we're taking. But let's go into our next matchup. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes coming back to take on the Tennessee Titans in Nashville. Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
We got in this matchup, I have the Kansas City Chiefs, Mark. I know we've been riding the Tennessee train the past few weeks. I feel like we've picked them a whole lot this year. And I feel like they've let us down a whole lot this year. I think we've been riding a little too high on Ryan Tannehill. And ultimately, in this game, just the quarterback for the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, is just far and away better than Ryan Tannehill, and that's what's pushing me to pick the Chiefs. That Chiefs offense is just too explosive. The Titans, I don't think, are going to be able to keep up with that points-wise. Their defense won't be able to slow up Kansas City's offense, and they just won't be able to keep up. Their offense, I don't think, is good enough to keep up with this offense. So, give me the Chiefs in this one.
Yeah, I'm taking the Chiefs as well, but I think it's going to be a close game. I actually have Kansas City winning by 4 or 5 points. I think this is going to be one of those games where, Patrick Mahomes is going to come back. I think he's going to be a little bit rusty. I think Ryan Tannehill is playing good football. And watch out, here's another power running team, which is exactly what Kansas City struggles with on the year, and they're going to be on the road. Tennessee's going to play better at home, and their defense has actually played fairly well this year. So I think those things are going to keep it close, but ultimately, the quarterback in Kansas City is going to propel them over the edge with those weapons. So I'm taking the Chiefs on the road in this one as well.
All right. On the same page, Mark. This is looking like one of those weeks, Mark, where there isn't going to be many differences.
Yeah, it's looking like it. I feel like plenty of these matchups we already kind of have strong opinions about, but anyways, Joseph, let's move on to a classic NFC South battle between those dirty birds who are playing pretty dirty football right now. They are going to go and maybe be cleansed by the Saints in New Orleans. So,
I see what you did there.
Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
Mark, this is another one of those, I think, really easy matchups to pick for us. New Orleans Saints at home against the struggling Atlanta Falcons, who have probably arguably one of the worst defenses, if not the worst defense in the NFL. And they have to go try and slow down Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, and Alvin Kamara. I don't think they're going to be able to do that. But that's not where I'm going to focus, because I feel like everybody knows about the New Orleans offense. But what I don't think is getting enough love is just how good this New Orleans defense is. That front seven, I don't know if I'll go as far to say that it's the best in the league, but they are one of the best front sevens in the league. Cameron Jordan is having one of those. He's been so underrated, I think, throughout his career. He is having a tremendous season. I've heard his name thrown around to Defensive Player of the Year candidates when you bring up that. That defense is legit. Matt Ryan's coming off an injury, and I don't think he's going to have the best of games against this defense. He's been turning the ball over quite a bit this year. So give me the New Orleans Saints at home in this matchup.
Yeah, you and me both. Atlanta's just a bad football team, and the Saints are a Super Bowl contender, and it's as simple as that for me. It's just, pretty much everywhere I look on that Saints team, I see pretty much every position group being an advantage for the Saints rather than the Falcons. So, and being at home, Andrew Brees really psyched up to be back. Yeah, this is going to be kind of a shellacking, I think, in New Orleans. So give me the Saints.
All right, cool. We're on the same page there. Moving on, Mark. This, I think, Mark, should be an interesting one. I don't know whether to call this really a home game for the Jets, because they are hosting the New York Giants.
Oh,
So,
man.
I mean, is this really a home game for the Jets, Mark? I mean, it's the same stadium.
Exactly.
If I'm just
Man,
before,
they did the Jets dirty now that I think about
I
it.
was just about to
Like
go
with the
into that right
schedule.
there. I mean, you're playing the team that shares the stadium, and then you get counted with the home game for it. I mean, with the
Well,
way the
yeah,
Jets are playing, there's
and
probably going to be more Giants fans there.
well, the thing is, I'm pretty sure New York is. I'm not from New York, but I would imagine that the Giants are the predominant team. Like more people are probably Giants fans than Jets fans. So it's just like one of those things where we're going to steal a home game, or we're going to give you the home game, except really it's going to feel more like a road game. It's just going to be crazy. And you know what, Joseph, in this one, I'm gonna set brawls, at this game because, it is the same two teams that don't like each other in New York. Fights between fans that come out on social media. Okay, big fights.
Okay.
I'm gonna set it at 1.5. Are you taking the over or are you taking the under in this one?
Ooh, I'm taking the under on that one.
Ah, man, I'm still taking the over. I'm feeling a little over like on everything today,
if you
but I
had
like
said if
two
this
videos.
were if this had Bills Mafia in there, then I'd most definitely take the over. But we won't be saying any of them today. Well, tomorrow
I
I
don't
should
know. Maybe
say.
some Bills fans are going to be there. Like honestly, they might be in there and just start a fight because it's New York.
Buffalo doesn't have a home game, so they go ruin the so-called home game for the New York Jets out of spite.
They're busy
I
in
see you, Bills
Cincinnati, so they're
Mafia.
like, "What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? Oh, let's just go fight with some Giants and Jets fans."
We're the New
But
York
anyways,
team.
let's
We're
get to
the
the
New
game.
York team, they'll say. Anyway, Mark. So on that spicy, potentially 3-team brawl, in New York, I think this matchup is a really easy one to pick. Um, I'm going to be taking the New York Giants in this one, just because I've seen the Jets play the past few weeks, and it has not been pretty. We've heard all the reports about coaches, fans, well, not coaches, but players, fans, thinking Adam Gase is an incompetable head coach, and I have to agree with them. He really hasn't done much since he's got there with the offense, which is why he's been brought in there. I know they're trying to be patient with him, but you have to be concerned with the way Sam Darnold has been playing the past few weeks. He had that good game against the Cowboys, but ever since he saw those ghosts against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, man, it just seems like he keeps being haunted by him. He has not played well over the past 3 weeks. He has turned the ball over, or I think thrown 8 interceptions. And I don't quote me on this one, but I want to say I heard something where he leads the league in turnovers right now, which is not good considering how little he's played.
Oh man.
I just don't trust this Jets offense to consistently move the ball and put up points. And the New York Giants have proved that they can do that, and they have the weapons to do so. And Sterling Shepard, Saquon Barkley, and their tight end, I think Evan Ingram is his name. Am I mistaken, or am I thinking of a different blue team?
No, you're right, and I
Okay.
think he's out as well. I think Evan Ingram's not playing this Sunday because I have him on my fantasy team, so I'm kind of a little bit more plugged into that.
Well, they still have Saquon Barkley, which they can just ride him.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong there. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Giants. We're kind of in a sad place where the New York Giants secondary is like just horrible, and I feel like Sam Darnold is going to struggle against them. I mean, like someone needs to tell Sam Darnold that Halloween was 10 days ago. You can't still be seeing ghosts, unless, you're going to go see that Doctor Sleep movie or something, the Shining stuff. I just don't, I do not trust Sam Darnold. So really, I'm literally picking this game because I do not trust Sam Darnold. Give me the Jets.
Mhm.
Or excuse me, the Giants, not the Jets. I'm not picking the Jets.
Oh,
Oh,
I learned
man.
I learned that the
And
hard way, Mark.
yes, do not pick the Jets. You did learn that the hard way picking them against the Patriots. And you know what? This whole game, it might be ugly to watch, but at least it's going to be an anti-love triangle with the Bills, Giants, and Jets fans. More like a hate triangle. So let's move on to our next matchup before we get in trouble for something. I don't know how, but it's kind of going that direction. But let's move on, Joseph. Let's go
The Bills Mafia will come after us.
to some Bills Godfather. Anyways, I'm done.
Moving on.
Arizona. We've got those Cardinals. Those, I don't know, those holy men or those little birds, whichever way you want to look at it, and they're going to go take on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, in the seven seas over there in Tampa. So, Joseph, who do you have in this matchup?
Mark, I have the Arizona Cardinals in this matchup.
Ooh.
And I think, Mark, this is going to be a really, really good game. I think both of these offenses have lots of talent. Tampa Bay, believe it or not, despite all the Jameis Winston turnovers, despite their 2-6 record, have the fourth best offense in the league just for points per game. So this is a team that can put up points, but it's also a team that gives up a lot of points. And I think we're starting to see Arizona get into a groove offensively. They were able to score some points against San Francisco. They were able to run the ball with Kenyon Drake. He looked really good for his first week in a Cardinals uniform. Kyler Murray looked okay. He looked like he's, I've been impressed with the way Kyler Murray's been playing, considering the situation he's in, not being in the best of, not having the most talented of teams right now. So, but what's pushing me to pick the Cardinals is just I don't trust that Buccaneers defense to consistently stop this Cardinals offense. So, give me the Cardinals.
Yeah, this is a very sneaky good game. I agree with you there. It's just going to be a bunch of offenses putting up points. And, I think last week was a really good week for Kyler Murray going up against a really, really, like an elite defense in San Francisco and really keeping his composure and playing pretty well most of that game. So, I think that's going to continue. I think he's going to keep growing. I think he's going to develop. I am picking the Cardinals here. Simply because I feel like this game is going to be a shootout, and it's going to be one of those things who turns the ball over first. And you know what? I trust Jameis to turn the ball over first. So give me the Cardinals in a shootout. 30-plus points per team, I think, in this one. We could be seeing 40, honestly. I think that's how it's going to go. It'd be a spicy game.
Tampa Bay has dropped a couple of 40 burgers this year.
They have.
The Rams and did they get? I don't think they got up to 40 against the Seahawks, but they dropped 30 plus against them. So that offense is legit.
Yes, it is legit, even with Jameis's 12 interceptions. But anyways, let's move on to our next matchup. Joseph, a very, very interesting matchup, I will say, after the events that last week and how they've transpired. We've got the Dolphins fans here rooting for their Miami team to go into Indianapolis and try to beat those Colts. So, Joseph, who do you think wins this game?
Mark, I know people may be thinking that, the sun's rising on Miami, it's rising on that shore. But Mark, let me tell you, the Colts are about to rain on this sun. I don't know what I'd call this, but I'm going to be taking the Colts in this game, Mark, even without Jacoby Brissett. This Miami team is still just one of the most talent-deprived rosters in the NFL. Who did they play last? They played Cleveland last week, wasn't it? No, not Cleveland.
The Jets. They beat the Jets.
That's right. So beating the Jets to me doesn't really prove anything because the Jets, I think, are just as bad as Miami.
Not worse. I mean, obviously worse, right?
Yeah, obviously worse. They lost to them. And Indianapolis as a team, even without Jacoby Brissett, is still a much, much better team. They'll be able to run the ball a whole lot. And Brian Hoyer is, he's not the best, but he's been in the league for a while. He, I think, can give you a mistake-free game. So give me the Colts in this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm taking the Colts. They're just a much better team all around. But hey, look at this storyline. This is an underrated matchup, sneaky good matchup of veteran journeyman quarterbacks. And this one with Brian Hoyer
and Brian Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, exactly. Two, I don't know, legends at least in my mind, in terms of the journeyman quarterback and being able to play well and then flaming out after a few games. So let's see who flames out first. I think it'll be Ryan Fitzpatrick because that guy plays like he's got Dan Marino's arm. I swear. I mean, he just throws the ball down the field so much, and he doesn't have Dan Marino's arm. So that's where his problems lie. But anyways, fun matchup, I think. But I also think that the Colts are going to come out with this one.
Yep, same page there, Mark. We have not we are on the same page again with every matchup.
Well,
I
feel like we have a very similar football mind. I think that's what it is.
I know I point that out every time, but like this is just making things kind of interesting.
You know what this means?
What does it mean, good sir?
It means that like every other pick besides the Raiders is just going to be completely wrong, and there goes our pick comes this week. I feel like that's the karma the karma that the football gods are going to give us. Like, oh, how dare you pick in unison with all these games? Well, we're just going to screw your picks up, and that's called fast acting karma. So.
Then maybe I'll want to change my pick for this one if everything I picked is going to go wrong. Because we have the Carolina Panthers, Mark, going down to the now frozen tundra to take on the Green Bay Packers. And, despite that potential disaster of all of our picks going wrong, I still cannot pick against my Packers, Mark. I know they had a rough loss against the Chargers, and I'm not really too concerned with that. That was more of a game I think that they lost themselves. I think they went and had too much fun. Aaron Rodgers kind of even admitted that there were some guys who went and had some fun in Los Angeles the night before. And I think that game was a little bit of a wake-up call for him that, it's not a cakewalk in the National Football League. So I think this week they get themselves back on track. I think we're going to see them feed the ball to Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams. They're two talented running backs. I think all the running backs in this game are going to be featured. As we know, Carolina has Christian McCaffrey, but I think Green Bay is I just think Green Bay is a better team. They have a better quarterback. They have just as many weapons on offense, and I think their defense is just a little bit better. So give me Green Bay.
Yeah, you and me both. One thing that you can say about this matchup is, how the Panthers are, Panthers in general, they're just a predatory animal that goes out and they look for meat. Well, they don't eat cheese. And this week they're going to be, trying to eat the cheese, but the cheese isn't going to give up. I think Aaron Rodgers is a better quarterback than obviously Kyle Allen. I think it's kind of one of those things where when a bad team gets embarrassed, when a good team gets embarrassed, the next week they come out, they're going to play with way more of a purpose and they're going to be scary. And I think it's kind of one of those things coming on. Carolina, I just expect C-Mac to have a big game. They're going to get after Aaron Rodgers, I think. But nonetheless, I think the talent disparity is just going to be on full display. I think Green Bay wins comfortably, but not a complete blowout. So you and me both. Packers, same team again, Joseph.
Woo! Go Pack, go.
Go Pack, go.
Our next matchup. Oh, see how I did that, Mark?
Oh, wow.
We got the Los Angeles Rams going down to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers in what I think could be I think I say this about a lot of matchups. I think all matchups could be interesting, but this is one that I'm going to be watching because these are two teams that I think have been kind of on my compass this year. I know we had Pittsburgh labeled as our dumpster fire of the year, but I think they've kind of proven us wrong. I think maybe our podcast got out to them and, gave them some fire. Maybe they decided to put out the dumpster fire.
Mm.
But despite that, I am still going to be picking the Los Angeles Rams on the road. And it's mainly just because I trust their offense to move the ball a little bit more than Pittsburgh's offense. The Los Angeles Rams, even though they have struggled on offense this year, still have a really good defense. They still have Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey, I may add, and a host of other veterans. And, the defense is still legit. And I know Pittsburgh has a good defense, but I don't think their offense is as good as the Rams' offense. And I think ultimately that's what's going to give the Rams the win in this one. I think this is going to be a close game. I do think this will be a defensive battle, but I think the Rams pull out on top.
Yeah, I'm taking the Rams to steal. You see what I did there? A game in Pittsburgh. I very toughly contested game, I will say. I'm actually really looking forward to this game because sometimes in today's NFL you see games and it's like, oh, this is going to be a shootout. Like perfect example, like Arizona Tampa Bay. You look at the game, oh, shootout. Like just a lot of these matchups have potential to be shootouts. This is one of those games that's just going to be gritty, like 1960s football, where it's going to be, we're going to punch you in the mouth, we're going to hit you hard, and I think it's going to be a 13 to 10 kind of game, like that kind of feel. Mm-hmm. But with that, I do agree with you. I think Jared Goff's better than Mason Rudolph. I think their offense is going to be able to move the ball a little bit more creatively with Sean McVay, even though that Pittsburgh defense is really scary. But ultimately, I'm going to take the Rams on the road in this one.
All right, we're on the same page again, I may add. I was thinking of a score, and I was actually thinking 17-10. So we were even along the same lines there. So
interesting.
Moving on, Mark, to I think probably arguably the best matchup of the week. Two really talent-packed teams. We got the Minnesota Vikings going on to take them Cowboys, them Dallas Cowboys, them boys, as we'd say back in Texas, even though
we're De Felipe. We're De Felipe. And if you don't know who he is, you can sleep at night. So
anyways, Mark, would you please start us off with this spicy Sunday Night Football matchup?
Spicy indeed. Here you have the Minnesota Vikings coming off a very tough loss in Kansas City to those Chiefs with Matt Moore. Very close game. They probably should have won, but just couldn't get it done. And then you have the Dallas Cowboys coming off of a big win against the New York Giants. Big win. Big time win. Like 37 to 16 kind of win. Dominant performance. And I'm going to be taking the Dallas Cowboys at home here. The reason why I'm taking them at home is simply because the Dallas Cowboys are kind of heating up a little bit as a football team. They were able to go kick the snot out of the New York Giants, and I think that's given them a little bit of confidence. I think they're kind of coming in playing more confident and better football. And I think the Minnesota Vikings are kind of, they're a little bit disappointing. They're a little bit deflated at this point. They're not playing as hot football as I think they should be playing. Also, just kind of this matchup lends to Kirk Cousins throwing the ball a lot. And I think if Kirk Cousins has to throw the ball and they shut down Dalvin Cook, I just don't think it's going to be a recipe for winning for Minnesota. So because of all that, give me Dallas at home.
Yeah, me and you were thinking along the same lines, Mark. I too have Dallas. And kind of like what you were saying, I think this game is going to be a shootout. I think both of these running backs are going to have to really fight for their yards, and I think both of them are really going to, I don't want to say struggle because both of them are at the top of, you can make a case for each of them uh, being the best running back in the league. But ultimately, like you said, I think this game is going to be a shootout as well. Both teams are going to have to put up points, and I just don't trust Kirk Cousins in a shootout. Give me the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, perfect. Saying along the same lines, and yet again, we pick the same teams. But Joseph, let's move on to the last matchup. Monday Night Freaking Football might be the best matchup of the week. Really excited for them. We've got those Seattle Seahawks with MVP frontrunner Russell Wilson going into San Francisco to take on Defensive Rookie of the Year frontrunner Nick Bosa and the San Francisco 49ers. Joseph, who do you have in this one in the Clash of Titans?
Mark, I have the Seattle Seahawks in this one, which may surprise some people. But I'm going to keep my logic really simple. The Seattle Seahawks have a MVP quarterback, and I don't want to pick against the MVP mark. Russell Wilson has been having a lights-out year. I think easily the best year of his career so far. He's already at 20 touchdowns thrown. He's only thrown a handful of interceptions. I can't think of the exact number. Just one.
Just one I think he's 22 touchdowns, one interception, something crazy like that.
I mean, what more do I need to say? And he's going up against I will say, a very, very good defense in San Francisco. But I do not trust Jimmy Garoppolo to be able to keep up with Russell Wilson in this Seattle offense. This offense is good. I think this is a game where we could see the Seahawks jump out on top real early. Or we're gonna have to see if Jimmy Garoppolo can make some throws and get his team back in the game, and I don't see that happening. So give me the Seahawks on the road.
Okay, well, I am picking the MVP, and you know what? I thought of something for Russell Wilson's MVP campaign. It's M3P. Because of his jersey number and all that. It should just be M3P. And you know what? Here's the thing, Joseph. This is from a talent standpoint, the San Francisco 49ers have the best defense in football, hands down. Just talent-wise. They are the best defense out there. But I think they're going to jump out to a lead, the San Francisco 49ers, and I think this is going to be a fighting and clawing game for the Seattle Seahawks. They're going to be down pretty much the whole game. I think Russell Wilson's going to take it over and get the lead late in the fourth quarter. It's going to be that kind of a game for him, and it's going to be something where he's not going to have his running game, and he's going to have to make spectacular plays like we saw him do against the Rams a few weeks ago. And you know what? This is going to be, I think, the last dominant game to really solidify him as the MVP. If he can go out on prime time and play really well and beat this undefeated Niners team, he's the MVP. I don't think you can argue that anymore. And I just think, he's coming off a 5-touchdown game in Tampa, or against Tampa. I don't remember if it was at home or not. But, their defense isn't great. But, dude, he's playing hot. And I don't see this guy slowing down. So give me MV3 in this game. Seattle Seahawks.
All right, we're on the same page yet again. Wow. Every matchup, not a single difference. Your lead will survive another week, Mark. This
my 7-game lead.
This 28-3 comeback that I keep telling you about. It's just gonna have to wait another week. But don't you worry, listeners. This comeback is coming.
Here's the thing. Here's my problem with that comparison. 28-3 is that it implies that I'm the Atlanta Falcons. No. I'm a well-oiled, fundamentally sound at picking games football team, for lack of a better term. I am the New England Patriots in this situation. And, you know what the Patriots do when they get a big lead? They don't squander it, that's for sure. So I'm going to, take my 7-point lead, literally my touchdown lead in game picks, and I'm going to maintain that through the rest of the season. Just being smart, fundamentally sound, not going too crazy with these picks.
If you, good sir, are the Patriots of pick'ems, then just call me Eli Manning.
Oh man, you have to have a defense for that, and I don't see a defensive equivalent in this scenario, Joseph. Man, but here I'm going to be optimistic here, Joseph. What if we go undefeated? I know you were really close a couple weeks ago. You lost one in the pick'ems, and I did 2 games wrong. I'm feeling really good about this week. Like I think we could go undefeated here. It's going to take some miracles from mostly Seattle, I think, but I think the rest of these games are actually realistic. What do you think, Joseph?
No, I think so too. I think we do have a very good chance of going undefeated this week. Like I'm
Oh,
actually really excited to see what happens.
Me too.
To see if we go undefeated.
Yeah. And you know what? The best part about this is the Raiders already have their win. And spoiler alert, they basically have a mini bye as they host the Cincinnati Bengals next week. So I think I'm going to be 1-0 at least in one of my picks, Joseph. I'm sorry, Bengals fans. I really am. Your team, man, this is brutal. But you know what? You have to go through the darkness to really appreciate the light, I guess. I don't know. Do you have any advice for a struggling Bengals fan or maybe Redskins fans or Dolphins fans?
I think you'd be in better position to offer advice since you are the fan of a team who has struggled throughout history. As you often point out to me, I have had the luxury of seeing my team transition from one Hall of Fame quarterback to another Hall of Fame quarterback and, in a few years to another Hall of Fame quarterback. So,
You want to know my advice
bold
to these
prediction
struggling teams?
on my part.
No, bold prediction. Exactly. So you want to know my advice, though, to these people with struggling teams?
What is that, my good sir?
Well, just my experience as a Raiders fan, you best and pray that your team gets a Gruden as your head coach, and Washington already ran him out of town. So good luck, Washington. So
you're saying
I guess what I'm
hope.
trying to say, there's no hope for the Redskins now.
Oh.
That organization is bad. So, I feel like the Miami team, the Cincinnati team, yes, they're going to be bad for now. They kind of are going through that rough stretch. I just think Washington's such a bad organization. I just don't see the tanking even helping them out in any sort of way. So, buckle in, Redskins fans. You might be the next laughing stock of the NFL. But
those poor Redskins.
Oh, I feel bad for them. The ironic thing is that my Madden franchise, where I'm the superstar quarterback, my team is the Redskins, and we're back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Joseph. So
Redskins fans, at least you have hope in Mark's team, in Mark's Madden franchise. Lean on that. Lean on that.
Three-time MVP, like 180 touchdowns my first 3 years, just killing it. So good times are ahead in Madden. But anyways, we've been talking enough. Really good episode. Really excited for football. Anyways, please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. This has been Mark.
This has been Joe.
And you guys have a good evening. Take care.